What if the future everyone's been promising you about gaming is actually a trap disguised as convenience?
I spent years buying into the dream. No more clunky hardware, no more heavy batteries, no more expensive upgrades. Just stream everything from a server somewhere far away and play AAA games on a device that costs almost nothing. That was the pitch, that was the fantasy, and I bought it completely. But here I am now, sitting at a charging station on a highway, holding a handheld gaming PC instead of my phone, and I need to tell you exactly why that fantasy fell apart the moment reality showed up.
Let me set the scene for you. I'm on a road trip, waiting for my car to charge, and I've got nothing but time. This is the exact kind of moment cloud gaming was supposed to save. Pull out your phone, connect to a server, and boom, you're playing a graphically stunning game like you're sitting in front of a gaming rig. Except that's not what happened. I ran a speed test right there at the charging station. Full 5G signal, strong bars, and the connection was still too unstable, too laggy, too unreliable to actually stream a game without it falling apart. That's the moment everything clicked for me.
You'd think 5 bars of signal means you're covered. It doesn't. Bandwidth was never really the villain in this story. It's latency, the delay between your input and what shows up on screen, and that's the thing cellular networks in a lot of the places just cannot guarantee. I've talked to people who insist you only need 10 megabits per second and a 40 millisecond ping to run a AAA title smoothly. And technically, sure, that's the number on paper. But paper numbers and real-world driving conditions are two completely different animals. One comment I saw compared it perfectly. Get under a tree, and suddenly your connection crawls like it's dial-up again. It's not even about being indoors or outdoors. It's about how fragile that invisible highway between your device and the server actually is.
And this is where the debate gets heated, because there's a whole side of gamers who swear cloud gaming solved their life. One person described using nothing but a mid-range Android phone for over 3 years, streaming through a major cloud platform with a server that gave them a 60 millisecond ping from hundreds of miles away, and calling it flawless. They didn't touch a physical gaming device until they finally had enough saved up for a proper desktop PC. That's a real use case. That's not nothing. If your daily routine looks like home, cafe, back to home, with strong fiber or stable Wi-Fi at every stop, cloud gaming genuinely might be the smarter, cheaper answer. No $600 handheld required. Just a phone you already own and a subscription that costs less than a single game.
But here's the twist that nobody talks about enough, and it's the part that actually made me rethink everything. A huge chunk of the loudest cloud gaming defenders aren't describing cloud gaming in the way the industry actually markets it. They're describing remote play, streaming from their own personal gaming PC sitting at home back to their own device somewhere else. That's not the same category as a dedicated cloud gaming service where you don't own any hardware at all. One is renting a stranger's supercomputer for a monthly fee. The other is just extending the reach of a machine you already paid for and already own. People are conflating the two constantly, and I think that confusion is exactly why this debate never seems to end. It's not one argument. It's two completely different technologies getting lumped into a single label.
Now let's talk about the handheld side of this, because I want to be brutally honest about its weaknesses too. A handheld gaming PC is limited. It's got an integrated graphics chip, not a dedicated powerhouse. You are not maxing out settings. You are not turning on ray tracing and expecting 60 frames a second in a demanding open-world title. What you get is functional. What you get is playable. It will never chase the visual ceiling that a cloud server pumping out data from a rack of high-end GPUs can reach. If pure graphical fidelity is your only obsession, cloud gaming wins that fight every single time. No contest.
So why does the handheld still win for me and for a growing number of people who move around constantly instead of staying in one fixed location? because it doesn't care what your internet looks like. It doesn't care if you're 30 miles outside the city near your in-laws' house in an area that isn't quite rural, but definitely isn't urban either. It doesn't care if you're stuck at a charging station with a bar of buffering wheels spinning where your game should be. The handheld is self-contained. Pull it out, turn it on, and you're playing. Battery dies, plug it into your car charger, and you're back in minutes. There is zero dependency on some invisible chain of servers and cell towers cooperating perfectly at the exact second you want to relax.
This is where things get a little uncomfortable, because I think there's a class element buried inside this entire debate that people dance around instead of saying directly. One comment I saw put it almost aggressively, suggesting that people hyping up cloud gaming are mostly folks who can't afford a proper gaming setup and are looking for validation, while people running handhelds, especially modified ones with battery upgrades, just find the whole experience more convenient without dealing with cloud gaming's frustrations. That's a harsh take, and honestly, kind of unfair to a lot of legitimate cloud gaming users. But underneath that harshness is a real economic truth. A subscription to a cloud gaming service costs a fraction of buying a $600 to $1,500 handheld PC upfront. If money's tight, and let's be honest, everything costs more right now than it used to. Streaming your games instead of owning premium hardware is a financially rational decision. It's not a status downgrade. It's math.
Here's a controversial claim that I think deserves way more attention than it gets. Someone pointed out that among the major telecom providers people were comparing, only one of them actually delivered a network stable enough for real cloud gaming performance. And the deciding factor wasn't the advertised speed tier at all, it was the underlying network latency. 100 megabits per second sounds fast, sounds impressive, sounds like more than enough. But if that same connection has spikes of latency above 40 milliseconds, you can have all the bandwidth in the world and your game will still stutter, drop frames, and feel unplayable during exactly the moments that matter most, like a boss fight or a competitive match. This tells me the entire industry has been selling us the wrong number for years. We obsess over speed test results when the actual experience lives or dies on a completely different metric that most people never even check.
Let's talk about setup complexity too, because that's evolved dramatically and it's worth acknowledging. There was a time when getting a personal cloud gaming rig running meant manually opening network ports, configuring software most people had never heard of, and praying nothing broke. That barrier kept a lot of casual users away entirely. Now, tools exist that streamline almost the entire process down to something you can finish in under an hour. Wake your home PC remotely over the network, stream it anywhere, no advanced networking knowledge required. That shift matters. It means the technical excuse that used to justify sticking with handhelds is disappearing fast. What's left standing as the real obstacle isn't complexity anymore. It's infrastructure. It's the physical reality of cell towers, fiber lines, and geography that no amount of clever software can fix.
And that brings me to maybe the most brutally honest confession buried in this whole conversation. Someone admitted that after going through the entire process of setting up their own cloud gaming server at home, actually using it dropped to less than 1% of their total gaming time. They set it up out of curiosity, tinkered with it for a while, and then almost completely abandoned it in favor of just picking up a handheld and playing indie games or older AAA titles for short bursts whenever they had a spare moment. That's a pattern I think a lot of tech enthusiasts secretly relate to. We get excited by the idea of a technology, we build it, we brag about it, and then the actual friction of daily use quietly pushes us right back to whatever was simplest all along.
There's also a fascinating middle path some people have landed on, and I think it might be the smartest answer in this entire debate. Why choose one side when you can run both? Install cloud streaming software directly onto a handheld PC. Set your home desktop to wake automatically over the network, and now you've got the best of both worlds sitting in one device. When you've got strong internet, stream the most demanding, most visually impressive titles straight from your home rig. When the connection turns unreliable, switch instantly to something lighter running natively on the handheld itself. No wasted money on a separate cloud subscription. No compromise when the network fails you. That hybrid model erases almost every weakness either technology has on its own, and honestly, I think it's where a lot of serious gamers are quietly heading, whether they admit it publicly or not.
One detail from all of this that I can't stop thinking about is how location-dependent this entire argument really is. If your daily life keeps you inside a major city, moving between fixed points with strong fiber internet at each stop, cloud gaming might genuinely be flawless for you, and you'll never understand why anyone complains about it. But if your life looks like mine, constantly on the move, driving between cities, visiting family in areas with patchy coverage, waiting at random charging stations or rest stops, that same technology becomes almost unusable at the exact moments you actually want to unwind. This isn't a universal answer. It's a deeply personal one, shaped entirely by geography and lifestyle. And I think a lot of online arguments about this topic completely ignore that nuance.
So where does that leave things? For me, the handheld remains the more dependable companion. Not because it's flashier or more impressive on paper, but because it never abandons me when I actually need it most. Cloud gaming still has its place. It's a fascinating showcase of what's technically possible. And for the right person in the right location with the right budget, it might be the perfect solution. But dependability beats potential every single time when you're the kind of person whose life doesn't stay in one place.
Let's dig even deeper into why this argument keeps resurfacing every few months across gaming communities. Because it's not actually about the technology itself. It's about two completely different visions of what gaming should feel like in a modern, always connected world. One side believes ownership is outdated, that renting access to raw computing power is smarter than sinking money into hardware that depreciates the second you unbox it. The other side believes control matters more than convenience, that owning your gaming experience outright, free from subscription fees and server outages and network dead zones, is worth paying a premium for. Neither side is wrong. They're just optimizing for different lives.
Think about the actual economics here for a second, because the numbers tell a story most people gloss over. A mid-range handheld gaming PC today runs somewhere between $400 and $1,500 depending on the model and specs you choose. That's a one-time cost. Compare that to a cloud gaming subscription running anywhere from $10 to $20 a month. Do the math over 2 or 3 years and cloud gaming looks like the obvious financial winner on paper. But that calculation completely ignores the hidden cost of frustration. What's the value of a smooth, uninterrupted gaming session versus one that stutters and drops every time you drive through a dead zone? That's not something you can put a clean dollar figure on, but it's real. And it's exactly why so many people who initially chase the cheaper option end up quietly abandoning it and going back to owning hardware outright.
I also want to address something that keeps popping up in these discussions that I think deserves way more scrutiny than it gets. The assumption that faster internet everywhere is just a matter of time, that eventually 5G and expanding fiber networks will solve the latency problem completely and make this whole debate irrelevant. I'm skeptical of that timeline, honestly. Infrastructure rollout in rural and semi-rural areas moves at a snail's pace compared to how quickly gaming demands evolve. By the time your local area gets truly reliable low-latency coverage, the games themselves will have gotten more demanding, requiring even lower latency to feel responsive. It's a moving target, And betting your entire gaming experience on infrastructure catching up to your needs feels like betting on a horse that's permanently one lap behind.
Here's another angle worth exploring, and it's one that barely gets mentioned in most of these comparisons. What happens to your gaming experience the moment a service shuts down, changes its pricing, or gets acquired and restructured? With a physical handheld, your games live on your device or in your library forever, tied to platforms you control. With cloud gaming, you're fundamentally at the mercy of a company's business decisions. Prices can rise, server regions can get discontinued, entire platforms can shut their doors overnight, and suddenly your entire gaming setup evaporates with zero warning. That's not a hypothetical fear either. The tech industry has a well-documented history of shutting down services people relied on daily, and gaming platforms haven't been immune to that pattern. Owning hardware means you're insulated from those corporate decisions in a way that renting access simply never allows.
Now let's flip the script and steelman the cloud gaming side one more time, because I think it deserves a fair hearing before we wrap this up. If you live somewhere with genuinely excellent, consistent internet, if your gaming happens almost entirely from fixed locations like your living room or your desk at work, and if you value having access to a rotating library of games without needing massive storage space, cloud gaming solves real problems that hardware ownership doesn't. No more worrying about drive space. No more waiting hours for a 100-gigabyte download before you can even start playing. No more hardware becoming obsolete in 3 years. Those are legitimate, valuable benefits that shouldn't get dismissed just because the technology struggles in edge cases like highway charging stations or rural family visits.
But that's exactly the tension at the heart of this whole conversation. Cloud gaming excels in controlled, predictable environments and completely falls apart the moment your life becomes unpredictable. Handheld hardware does the opposite. It thrives in chaos, in movement, in situations where you can't guarantee what kind of connection you'll have, but it caps your visual experience at a level that will never satisfy someone chasing the absolute best graphics money can buy. You're not really choosing between two versions of the same thing. You're choosing between stability and mobility, between visual ceiling and reliability floor, and only you know which one actually matches how you live your life day to day.
So here's the real question you should be asking yourself before picking a side in this debate. Is your lifestyle actually built for the fantasy cloud gaming is selling you? Or have you just been convinced it is because everyone else keeps saying it's the future?
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the latest update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.